This is the Rebound Podcast with Coach Matt Doherty.
Welcome to the Rebound. I am Matt Doherty and I'll be your host. On this show, we focus on the topic of leadership and overcoming adversity in an open and raw kind of way. We discuss setbacks and how to rebound from them. I became passionate about leadership after losing my job as the head basketball coach at North Carolina. I was hired in 2001 and was voted AP National Coach of the Year that first season. 2 short years later, I was asked to resign. That sent me on a leadership journey to find what was missing in my life. I found that leadership and the principles of leadership were some of the critical components that I needed to improve upon. I needed to learn and grow. With me today is James Worthy, 1982 national champion and teammate of mine at North Carolina. He was the number 1 pick in the NBA draft by the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a 7-time NBA All-Star, 3-time world champion, top 75 players of all time, NBA Hall of Famer, big game James Worthy. James, thank you for being on the show. Tell the audience what you're working on. Well, let's talk about leadership. To me, when I think about James Worthy and having played with you for 2 years, you were a leader by example. I thought you were a calming influence on our team. You weren't really a rah-rah guy unless you were dunking on Ralph Sampson or Patrick Ewing or Sleepy Floyd. But you were the man at UNC, and everyone knew it. And you were a leader by example. Then you transitioned to the Lakers, and you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whose nickname was the captain, and Magic Johnson, maybe one of the best leaders in all of sport. How did your leadership style change from college to the NBA?
Well, it had a lot to do, Matt, and you know this. It had a lot to do with the way Coach Smith coached us and the way he mentored us. For me, it started back when I was going to basketball camp in the 8th grade, learning about Coach Smith, about the system, about his players, how teamwork was essential. And so it was embedded in me. So when I went to the Lakers, I was ready. One of the reasons that they drafted me was they wanted a role player. The Lakers had just won 2 out of 3 championships, and because of a trade that happened back in the mid '70s, the Lakers just happened to get the Cleveland Cavaliers number 1 draft pick. Well, at the time, Cleveland was pretty good, so getting that pick wasn't very important. Unfortunately, the owner sold the team. They went straight to the bottom, and I became a Laker. So, it was a matter of, knowing how to listen, knowing how to get along with people that you may not be compatible with. You didn't really have to be the same, but you had to understand what they were bringing to the table. And that was what I learned from Coach Smith. Learned to be a good listener. And also learn to speak honestly when called upon. So, I had seen Kareem, as a kid. And so, but Magic was our true leader. He had a personality that just yielded, leadership. He just refused to lose. He refused to, have a teammate be down. I remember I was in a shooting slump once, and I asked one of the ball boys to meet me in the gym early a.m. And instead of the ball boy being there, Magic was there. Magic was my rebounder. He was the guy. So we had a lot of leaders. Michael Cooper, the Minister of Defense, he led us on the defensive end. If there was anything that needed to be handled defensively, he was the guy that was in your face. Bob McAdoo, one of Coach Smith's, men, spoke brutally honest. McAdoo told me once, he said, they'll trade you. You know that, don't you? I was going through, struggling about my 3rd year, and he's like, he wasn't having it. I was trying to, pity myself. So we had that type of conversation, and we knew how to get along. I mean, we had Pat Riley, who came from, Adolph Rupp. We had a few guys come from John Wood, Kareem, Jamal. And then we had, Dean Smith's boys, Mitch Kupchak, Bob McAdoo, myself. So we knew how to win. Jerry West. So guys knew how to sacrifice, and it was just nice that it was compiled all into one team, and very successful.
James, you talked about writing a book, and you touched on mental health. And I think you touched on something that I want to talk about, which I think is so important today. You know, mental health, when we were playing, it was like, just suck it up, right? Be tough. But as I've gotten older, I think the negative self-talk, I say the person we spend the most time with is ourselves. And the
Hmm.
things we could say to ourselves are awful. We wouldn't say them to our worst enemy. I know when I got let go at North Carolina, I was like, what an idiot. I should have stayed at Notre Dame. What an idiot. I should have managed Coach Smith differently. What an idiot. I should have treated the former players differently. Or what an idiot. I say that to myself, and I think we need to say nicer things to us. And I talk to a lot of people like yourself, successful people, and I ask them, what do they do in the morning? What's their morning routine? And they basically say three things. They pray, they journal, and they work out. And the journaling I have found has been a big help to me, and praying, because, listen, I know you came a family of faith. Um, it's we like to think we're in control, but we're not. So tell
Hmm.
me what your self-talk is like, and what maybe your morning routine is like to help you get your mind right for the day.
Matt, um, I read a book, and I wish I could remember the name of it right now. It's by an admiral, I think in the Navy, I believe. And the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I make my bed. Something I
Yes,
never did.
that
Something I
was his
never did.
speech.
I never did. I just left it there for days. Maybe I'd pull the cover over, but there's something about the process of being really tired and making your bed during that process. It gets you going. So I do that, and then I talk to myself. I talk myself out of stuff. Like, I'm tired. How am I going to overcome this? Okay, you got to do this. I have a 10 o'clock dentist appointment. I'm gonna cancel it. No, don't cancel it. I stick to my schedule. I meditate. Uh, I do some tapping for about 10 minutes just to get myself, ready for the day. And the first thing I tell myself is, no matter what happens today, waking up was a bonus. So whatever happens after I wake up is beautiful. It's never a bad day. Even if you have a tough day to overcome some stuff, I just thank God that I was here to experience that. I just have days that I'm happy that I woke up, and everything else that happens after that is a bonus.
You were referencing Admiral McCraven
Yes,
commencement speech. Yeah,
that's it.
terrific. Make your bed. You talk about tapping. What do you mean tapping?
Well, my daughters are way smarter than we are. It's a form of meditating where you quiet and you focus and you tap certain parts of your body that ignite certain thoughts and it releases certain energy. So don't look at me as an expert, because I just rely on my kids, because you got to be honest with yourself. But right now, man, I'm going once a month to therapy, and I go once a month with couples therapy, so I can talk to my girlfriend, and we can grow and not waste a lot of time. You know what I'm saying?
The Rebound is sponsored by Sector Spider ETFs, a unique family of exchange-traded funds that divide the S&P 500 into 11 sector index funds. You can buy just the sectors you like, or customize the S&P 500 by weighting the 11 sectors to meet your financial objective. Please visit them on the web at sectorspiders.com. That's sector, SPDRS.com.
Alps Portfolio Solutions Distributor, a registered broker-dealer, is the distributor for the Select Sector Spider Trust.
We talk about rebounding, and you were one of the best rebounders in college basketball and a great rebounder for the Lakers. But I'm talking about rebounding in life, and we've all dealt with rebound moments where we felt really low, lonely, a failure, hurt, disappointed, and we've had to rebound from it. Tell us of the rebound moment in your life.
Well, there's been a few, I think early on in my life, experiencing integration. I went to an all black elementary school, and I can remember some of the horrors and some of the anxiety and the pain that happened during that time when we were asked to leave our school and go, across the railroad tracks to another school. No busing at that time in 1970, 71. So, imagine a group of kids walking to school and having to endure, language and hateful images and things of that nature. So overcoming that was tough. We wanted revenge. We wanted to fight. We didn't like what we were experiencing. But thankful for my parents and some other people that told us to just kind of just keep going forward. So those were early things to overcome. As I got older and I started to play sports, I grew 5 or 6 inches.
Mm-hmm.
One summer. And so when you're taller than everyone in the seventh grade, you have a tendency to get picked on a little bit. And you're skinny, and your shoes are big, and your clothes are kind of raggedy and too small for you. You have to overcome that. But then you start to grow, and then injuries. I broke my ankle my freshman year. Overcame that.
Yeah.
Broke my
Yes.
yeah.
That was a
Yeah, broke my
serious
ankle.
that was a serious
Yeah,
injury, James, and that was probably maybe close to career ending for you. Tell us
I.
about that injury.
It was my freshman year. I was the second freshman, I believe, after Phil Ford, maybe the third after. I'm not sure if Michael Corrin started, but things were going pretty good for me as a freshman. Getting some playing time, and I think it was Super Bowl Sunday. I broke my ankle. They think it was a wet spot, and I had surgery where they had two screws in my ankle and also like a 4-inch rod on both sides, tibia and fibula. So I had no idea uh, what I was going to be like after that injury. My sophomore year was kind of, slow, a little overweight, no mobility.
Mm.
Didn't really have to practice. Coach Smith, didn't allow me to practice that much, but we went on and I survived that year to come back. But it was a serious injury. I did not know. I think because I was young and because of a good medical staff, I was able to, recover from that. So, but injuries was something to overcome because at the time you think that your career is over. It was a blessing in disguise too, because while the team was on the road, I was back at the dorm without my teammates. So I got to know other people and got to realize that, hey, the true meaning of me being here was to be a student athlete. Coach Smith made sure of that, but I really started to focus on,
Hmm.
what if I don't play basketball
Yeah.
anymore? So it was a blessing in disguise. And then my rookie year in the Lakers, I broke my leg. Um, so
Where'd you break your leg? What part of
I
your?
broke my tibia. It was on the outside of my leg, I believe, in the knee, and they inserted two screws in my knee. So I played my entire career with those two screws. The college injury, they took those metal out. They took that metal out after the season, before my sophomore year. but the screws in my knee stayed in forever. I just had those taken out a few years back when I had a knee replacement. But overcoming injuries,
Mm-hmm.
those are things that I've had to overcome. And then as you grow older, you for me, I was married young. You know Angela very well,
Yep.
and
Cheerleader, beautiful cheerleader at North Carolina.
yeah, yes, and we had two beautiful daughters, but I had no idea. Like all I was up until that was a ball player,
Yes.
and I had carried all this. I had a winning formula. Like I had learned. Like I just remember in the eighth grade, people who may not have been as nice to me. I mean, I know certain areas of town where you would hear things you shouldn't hear as a kid, but all of a sudden they started to like me, and I couldn't figure out
Uh,
why. And then I realized it's because I was playing ball. I was kind of popular, and for the county and for the school, I was representing so that kind of weirded me out a little bit. So as I got into marriage, I really hadn't had any experience. Now
mm-hmm.
I make no excuses because I had awesome parents, but in our household, uh, we never really had like family forums. There wasn't a lot of discussions. My dad, who I think was the smartest man ever, he had an eighth grade education, very quiet. My mother was just a beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up in the South, man, sometimes you bring some of those characteristics along with you. Like we didn't really have like a lot of conversation, so I never really learned how to survive within a marriage.
So
And I
you
found
you
myself,
you
yeah,
were
go
how
ahead.
old? How old were you got married?
22, yeah,
22. Yes.
22.
Wow. And you had already played 1 year with the Lakers?
Yes, I had played 2 years with the Lakers.
2 years.
And I had been in Los Angeles as a single man, even though I was totally committed to Angela. But I told myself, you better hurry up and get married or you're not going to survive.
Well, I
you're
can only
not, you're
imagine,
not going to
I've
survive.
seen, a lot of people have seen shows about the Lakers and the Showtime Lakers and what it was like after the games at that, at the Coliseum, the parties that Bus would have. You were the hottest thing in the country and in LA with all the glitz and glamour, and I imagine
Yeah.
the temptations. uh,
Yeah.
that would be hard for anybody to deal with.
It was, being with the Lakers or being with a professional sports team or being a musician or rock star was just a bonus. But the 80s, the decade of the
The
80s
'80s, they were a good
was
time. They were a good time,
was
James.
off the hinges. So if you weren't grounded, and
Yeah.
if you weren't, if you didn't have a voice, which I didn't have, I didn't know how to live. And then so later on, if you add, alcohol and you add, your frustrations. So I never wanted to like hang out at strip clubs or really like, you know, have multiple kids with multiple women. So I got caught up a few times in soliciting for prostitution.
Wow.
And
Thank you for
you
admitting
know,
that.
it was a tough time for me because I knew that I wasn't raised that way. And I knew if I all I had to do was say, I want a divorce, I want out of this marriage, and then I could do whatever I wanted to do. But when you have developed a way of living and you don't know how to speak and you don't know how to
Mhm.
genuinely live within, and so that's what my book is going to be about, especially for black men who have always run away from any type of uh, therapy or mental help. What you do is you learn how to live. You have a winning formula. It works. when you're out there in public and you're with your friends. But when you get alone in those dark places and your mind starts to go all over the place, that's when you might start drinking.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people take it deeper in drugs or whatever it may be, domestic violence. I was fortunate I never hit none of those areas, but you have to be true to yourself, and you have to be able to reconcile with things in life in order to move on. Otherwise, it's just gonna, it's like when you get cut and you have a scar and it's bleeding. An open wound is not good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have, and I think a lot of people have scars that they're never going to go away. Like where I had my knee surgery, there's a nice stitch there, but it's not an open wound anymore. It's not bleeding, so I don't have to
Right.
carry that weight anymore. I kind of have reconciled with it, genuinely and honestly. And if you don't do that, you'll carry it for the rest of your life, and you'll never know what's affecting your relationships or why you can't, really move forward in life. So I've been very fortunate to, honestly, and I think, playing for a coach like Coach Smith, being able to call back on his philosophy of honesty and straightforwardness has really helped a lot of us, continue our lives.
Yep. No, we were blessed. I'd like to do a deeper dive at another time, but 2 minutes left. I have one question. What should I have asked you that I didn't?
You should have asked me what kind of guy was Matt Doherty to play with and be a sweet mate with, and
That's right.
that was one. You should
We
have
were
asked that.
sweetmates. What would be the
Yeah,
answer to that
yeah. You should have
question,
asked that.
James?
That should have been.
What would?
That,
Okay, I'm going to ask you. What was it like being a teammate and a sweet mate to Matt Doherty at the University of North Carolina?
okay, first of all, we wanted Matt. Coach Guthridge and Coach Smith told us a lot about the kid from New York and how disciplined he was, and that's what we wanted. Great. Okay, so we knew he could play. We knew it was confident. We knew it was a great teammate. You can see that in the Georgetown game and his whole, his whole career. Even when he coached there, you could still feel I love the Carolina product. So we knew that. As a sweet mate, I think it was the first day of college, first day of classes. This was like nothing but party time. So Jimmy Braddock was about 5 of us right next door to Matt, right? And so it was only like 8 feet that a bathroom that separated the rooms. And so we were young and crazy and wild. We, drinking some beer and having fun. We hadn't even had our first
Hey,
day of
wrap it
class
up,
yet.
James. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
And about midnight, Matt comes in with a serious face and he says, "Hey guys, I have an 8 o'clock in the morning." And there was this pause for like 8 seconds, and then we just fell out laughing on the
You
floor. It was
laughed.
funny.
You and Sam and Braddock
Oh
just
man.
laughed at me, and I couldn't get
Uh,
mad. I just put my head down,
uh,
went back to sleep, put the pillow over my head.
to this
James,
day, man, to this day, we said, we're going to love this guy. He said, yeah. And Matt threw some nice dimes too, man. He's a nice dime dropper.
One more question. Who's a better passer? Magic Johnson or your guy, Matt Doherty?
I would have to say it's a tie. It's a tie.
I'll
Because
take
both
it.
of you had no-look passes. I was going to say in the Georgetown game, you look at the 82 game, Matt had some nice little touch passes. But I have to say, over time, I played 10 years with Magic, man.
Yeah, well,
6'9", could see the court. Awesome.
James, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to reconnect with you.
Yeah, brother.
This has been The Rebound with Matt Doherty and special guest, Big Game James.
Leadership is a learned behavior. You're a leader whether you're a parent, a coach, a business owner, or a friend. We all lead in some way, shape, or form. Thanks for listening. I welcome any and all feedback. You can reach me at dohertycoaching.com.